Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode all those corporate fillings so that you don't have to. Today we're looking at Thryv Holdings and their proxy statement. It's like the invite to the company's annual party, except instead of cake, we get to vote on important business stuff. And trust me, some of this business is juicier than any gossip you'd hear at an actual party. We're talking director elections, accountant approvals, and maybe even a change to the company's DNA. First, some quick introductions. This proxy statement is from Thryv Holdings, a company that provides cloud-based software or SaaS and marketing solutions, mostly for small businesses. Think of them as the digital helpers for your local bakery or plumber. Their big focus is on helping these businesses manage their day-to-day stuff and snag more customers. Okay, let's get to the important part, how you as a shareholder get to boss them around. Basically, this document is getting sent out to everyone who owned Thryv stock on April 15th. The meeting is scheduled for June 12th and it's all virtual, so you can attend in your pajamas. You can vote by internet, phone or mail. The most important thing is to make your voice heard. Now, what are we actually voting on? Well, the board of directors has recommendations on each item, which is basically them telling you how they want you to vote. They want you to elect 2 Class 2 directors. They want you to approve their choice of Grant Thornton as their accounting firm. They want you to approve their choice of Grant Thornton as their accounting firm. They want you to approve executive pay. And they want you to approve an amendment to their corporate paperwork. Of course, you don't have to listen to them. It's your vote after all. Let's shift gears to the company's boss structure. The board of directors is like the governing body of Thryv, and they take corporate governance pretty seriously. A big part of that is having independent directors, people who aren't tied to the company in a way that would make them biased. They've determined that several of their directors are indeed independent. Thryv has a combined chairman and CEO, which is Joseph Walsh. He's been in charge for a while, and the board thinks he's the best guy to lead them. However, to keep things balanced, they also have a lead independent director, John Slater, who presides over meetings when the chairman isn't around and acts as a go-between for the other independent directors. The board has committees that focus on specific areas. The audit committee keeps an eye on the finances. The compensation committee decides how much the executives get paid. And the nominating and corporate governance committee finds and recommends new board members. The audit committee consists of Mr. Akhtar, Mr. Slater, and Ms. Zinkzak. Having a strong audit committee is super important because they're responsible for ensuring the company's financial statements are accurate and that the company has good internal controls. Let's talk about how the non-employee directors get paid, which is always a fun topic. They get an annual retainer of $100,000 just for showing up, and then extra fees for being on committees or leading them. They also get some stock in the company. Seems like a pretty sweet deal if you ask me. Here is the money shot, the director compensation table. In 2024, John Slater made $295,000. Most of the others are around $250,000. Not bad, especially if you consider it's mostly showing up to meetings. Most got $140,000 in stock rewards, which vest in a year. Moving on, you get to vote on whether you approve of Thryv's choice of Grant Thornton as their independent accounting firm. It's kind of like approving the referee for a sports game. The audit committee picked them, but they want you to give the thumbs up too. Here we can look at how much Thryv paid Grant Thornton for their services. In 2024, it was about $3.5 million, mostly for the audit, with a little bit for tax services. The audit committee has a policy of pre-approving all of these services, which is a good thing. Now let's get to the people who are actually running the show, the executive officers. We've got Joseph Walsh as chairman and CEO, Paul Rouse as CFO, Grant Freeman as president, and a few other key players. It's good to know who these folks are, as they have a huge impact on the company's direction. Time for another peek into who owns what. This section tells us how many shares the bigwigs and major stockholders have. Joseph Walsh, the CEO, owns a big chunk of the company. BlackRock and FMR LLC also own a significant percentage, over 5%, which makes them major players. Diving right into the ownership table, we see BlackRock holds over 7 million shares, which makes up 16.4% of the company. FMR LLC isn't far behind with over 5 million shares, around 12%. Always pays to know who the big players are. Switching gears, it looks like Thryv got a new term loan, basically a big chunk of borrowed money. The company refinanced their previous debt, which means they got a new loan to pay off the old one. This new term loan is for $350 million, and guess who's holding a big piece of it? BlackRock. Again, this could be good or bad depending on how Thryv manages the debt, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Here's where things get spicy. This section is all about how much the top executives get paid. It's always a hot topic, and for good reason. They have a compensation philosophy rooted in pay for performance, a mix of fixed salaries and bonuses tied to how well the company does. Their short-term cash incentive plan depends on adjusted EBITDA, free cash flow, SaaS net revenues, and of course, an individual performance evaluation. The weight of these are 25% each and will depend what the yearly bonus will look like. Individual goals include growing SaaS revenue and improving SaaS gross margins. This is actually something tangible, not something like stock value, and is what really makes their bonus. The overperformance plan, or OPP, is an additional bonus on top of the regular bonus in case they are having a very good year. Alright, let's go to the numbers. CEO Walsh pulled in a base salary of a little over $1 million. The CFO, Mr. Rouse, made around $521,000, with the rest of the named executive officers hovering in the $380,000 to $500,000 range. Let's talk equity and stock-based stuff for 2024. Mr. Walsh received a $3 million worth of stock, mix of RSU and PSU, and Mr. Rouse got $2 TOS and $5 million worth of stock. RSU and PSU. RSUs are restricted stock units, which basically vest over time, and PSUs are performance stock units, which vest if the company hits certain goals. Think of it as incentive for executives to make the company do well. Now, the good stuff. How much stock does everyone own as of the end of the year? Mr. Walsh has a pretty hefty pile, just north of $1 million in exercisable options. It seems they give out a lot of options, which probably makes for good team building and also a good reason to stick around in the firm. Finally, let's talk about the pay ratio. This is where we see how much the CEO makes compared to the median employee at the company. For Thryv, the CEO made 46 times what the median employee made. That's a pretty big gap, and it's something to consider when you're thinking about whether you approve of the executive compensation. One last thing they're asking you to vote on is to amend the document. This is done to adjust voting requirements for future changes. Basically, they are electing to be governed by Section 242D here of the DGCL Tab D. Now, what do I think of all this? Looking at these numbers and proposals, it seems Thryv is trying to streamline how they operate. The new term loan could allow the company to invest more in growth and new technologies, but they need to execute well. And their executive compensation is tied pretty closely to key performance metrics. The high pay ratio raises some questions, but the executives do seem incentivized to grow the company. Finally, the thing about changing how they vote on amendments is a move to make things easier for management, but it could also reduce shareholder power, so you need to consider that carefully. Overall, Thryv is at a crossroads, but they need to show they can put it to good use. They should be careful to make sure the executives are aligned with their shareholders. Ollie, thanks for watching, and remember to do your own research before making any investment decisions. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below.